Upon further review, when the Celtics are forced to play a full 48 minutes, man, they really can do a lot of things well. Let's talk about those things that we learned right now in the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and I got you every day with a free, fresh podcast. It's new. It's just delicious for you to consume podcast after podcast after podcast, Monday through Friday, plus weekends when they play on Friday nights like they do against the Philadelphia 76ers. I will have a podcast after that for you as well, so make sure you're subscribed everywhere podcasts exist, on YouTube as well. Watch the show, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I used to play ball a long time ago, and now I'm covering the Boston Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the last-minute ticket app you need to download right away. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $20 off your first purchase. Looking back on that game against the Bulls, there are a few things that kind of stood out in retrospect. Like, wow, this really was something that the Celtics did very well. I can't tell if it was just because it's the Bulls and opportunities presented themselves, or if the Celtics were forced to when they played the full 48 minutes. But I'm going to bring Tom Westerholm in to help discuss. Tom Westerholm?
Bring John Karalis in.
I'm going to bring John Karalis into the conversation.
What's up, Tom?
Yeah, man. Like, so I gotta do my Tom impression. I don't have a winter hat to put on. I need to put on a winter hat to do my Tom impression. Yeah, I also don't have a small child randomly walk behind me.
You know, like a nice, like, you gotta kind of like raise the decibel of yeah. What up? Yeah.
So don't do an impression of me or you're fired.
There's lots of impressions of me you can do.
Hot stink!
Man, Sam Hauser's so good, huh? I think everybody should play like him.
Let's redraft that. I'm gonna pick him first, second, and third. And fourth and fifth. Looking back on that game, there's the obvious, like, Chicago's bad, but also, why are they so bad?
They're worse than they should be. Like, there's
so much worse than they should be.
Yeah.
It's like talent that doesn't fit together.
And talent that's hard. I think the key to it, honestly, is that the talent is hard to fit together. Like, you have to have the right team for DeMar DeRozan, and DeMar DeRozan is a talent. He's really, really good. But, like, you gotta have the right DeMar DeRozan team, and you gotta have the right Zach LaVine team, and you definitely got to have the right Vucevic team. And the right Vucevic team is not a DeMar DeRozan team. And the right DeMar DeRozan team is not a Vucevic team. And it's like, you know, fit matters so much. That's why I think, Brad's team building has made so much sense, is he got a bunch of guys who it's like, man, it's easy to build a team around Jayson Tatum. And it's even easier to build a team around Jayson Tatum when you have all these role guys who would fit on any other team too. Like, I think we can really see the benefit of versatility when you look at Celtics Bulls, because that is just like polar opposites in that way.
And the body language is tough. They are just like,
they're done. With each other.
They are just done. They can put it together like they did in the Brooklyn game.
Yeah.
And if they can keep it together, they can win. They can win easily. But the second they hit any kind of adversity, that's why when the Celtics, they were hanging punch for punch, 13-13. They had one possession where that ball flowed around the perimeter, like got inside. I forget who finished, but it's like, wow, that was a gorgeous possession. What great basketball. And then Boston comes out of the timeout and he hits a couple of 3-pointers, and you're like, that's it. It's over. They are talented, so they'll hit some shots. They won't go away. They can string some runs together. But once you gain some separation from Chicago now, like, remember when they blew a huge lead against the Bulls?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's going to happen again.
No, and I like that you said that the Bulls can hang around in a game that they went down by 19 at halftime and then lost by 27, and it never got like, you know what I mean? Like, It's like the Bulls hung around in that they made the Celtics slightly uncomfortable about maybe making the in-season tournament. Like, they're not, like this, they're done. They're cooked. It is Jover for the Chicago Bulls.
The Celtics, I don't know whether to just say, well, this is the Bulls, and the Bulls defensively, that's like the place where stuff like this shows up. Defensively, they're just not connected, and so cuts open up. But one of the first things that I saw was, oh my God, Jaylen Brown backdoor cuts.
Gorgeous.
Were such a thing in this game. Like, oh man, if Jaylen wants to still average 26 a game, 27 a game, but still be a distributor when he has the ball, just cut more. You can get like 8, 9, 10 points a game just on the backdoor cuts, because Al Horford's going to find you.
Yep.
Derek White's going to find you. Porzingis when he's healthy. Tatum, like those guys
Tatum
are
will
going
find
to
you. Yeah.
find you. They will find you. So I think one of the lessons learned, whether it's Chicago or not, when the opportunity presents itself, especially when they play like that, they play horns, which is a double high post setup. And there was one, this one was with Derek White that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of two. The horns one was with Al Horford, where he just lost his man and went backdoor, and Horford found him. And then there was one where it looked like he took a big jab step coming up, like he was going to set a pick for Derek White, and then he turned and cut backdoor, and both of them ended up in dunks. And it's just like, man, if Jaylen can just do that, then he will get all of his dunks, all of his highlights, so he can share them on Instagram. He will get all of his points, so he can pile up his all-NBA case, and he can still, when he gets the ball at the top of the key, move the ball and pass. You can rack up some assists and potential assists. That's the formula. This game gave us the pure Jaylen Brown formula.
Well, and I think, it was I was watching the game and feeling pretty good about the podcast that we put out the day before, where we just talked about how like Jaylen seems to have figured some things out. I think one of the things that we're seeing is that he really trusts his teammates on this year's team. Like, he knows, like we were talking about last time with that ball that, he passed and then swung all the way around back to him. He's seeing like, hey, if I give it up, I'm going to get it back if I do the right things. And like, yeah, this team, like, or, good things are going to happen one way or the other if they trust each other, because there's just so much talent here. Like, yeah. And I think it's a lot easier to trust a team. Not that last year's team had a lot of talent too, but like, how could you not trust this year's team? This year's team is so good. Like, they can do a little bit of everything. Like, I just think we're seeing like what it looks like when Jaylen trusts his teammates, when he plays. And again, like, I think we're seeing an evolution like this. If Jaylen keeps this up, right? Like, talking about all NBA, it's like, yeah, he's going to be if he keeps this up, he's going to be an all NBA player again. Like, no question. Right. Like, like all the assists, like the lack of turnovers, the points. And it's coming so easily to him. I think this, and we're going to get into some of this when we talk about, other guys and what we learned from trying to run up the score. But like everybody on this team, their job is just so much easier. And I think we're really seeing the benefit of that across the board, but especially with a high usage guy like Jaylen, it just looks so natural to him now.
It does. It's if this is the turn for him, right? If he, like, the corner that's being turned, if this is it, then watch out. And I wrote about this on Boston Sports Journal. And the last thing I said was, if this is how Jaylen's going to play for the rest of the year, Boston's not going to lose a whole lot more, because it's just, now you can survive bad Tatum games. And now you can the on off, the Tatum on off, there still be a discrepancy because Tatum is Tatum.
Yeah.
And that's just how it's going to go. And Jaylen will be staggered. So Jayson is going to have like positive on off. Jaylen may not be quite as, as high, but if he's like this, if he's playing like this, then the difference is not going to be so stark.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be that's one of the biggest takeaways is, and it wasn't just Jaylen, it was a lot of guys. I mean, Jayson cut back door. Everybody, like if everybody gets the message, hey, you want some easy buckets? It's like I feel like I'm a drug dealer. Hey man, you want an easy layup? Come here, go through that back door. Like, it's a very simple thing. And they're like, yeah, man, I'm addicted to easy buckets, so let's go. So man, that's probably the worst way I could put it, but it makes sense.
Or the best.
Or the best.
The more you think about it.
Yeah. I'm going to give people a chance to think about that. Chew on that for a second while I tell you about our good friends at Gametime. Gametime is where you go for last-minute tickets to legitimate shows, legitimate theater, if you so choose, or a basketball game, or a hockey game, or whatever. If they're selling tickets to it, download that Gametime app, and you'll get yourself a pretty good deal because it's the fastest and easiest way to get your sports, music, comedy, theater tickets near you. They've got these cool things like zone deals where you pick the section and Gametime picks the seats. Exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets. The tickets are right up to the start of the event, sometimes even after it starts. So if you're going to like a comedy show and you don't want to see all of the opening acts, there you go. And with the Gametime guarantee, you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. That all adds up to a must-download app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. You download that Gametime app, you create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA. On top of everything cool, you get a $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, Locked On NBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out this super cool thing that we have launched here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's 24/7, all day long, all night long. Whatever time you are listening to this now, you can go to Locked On Sports Today, turn it on, and there will be something from our amazing network, all our national shows, the local experts streaming on YouTube. So check that out right now. First ever. That's pretty cool. Tom?
Whenever you forget to mute me, I'm always tempted to just start ad-libbing. Like, just, yeah, get him. Yeah.
$20
off.
Just be the guy in the back one.
I'm going to take my son to a game. Let's go.
That's
not
great
really
deal.
ad-lib. It's not really an ad-lib, but it is a true thing.
It is a true thing.
Yeah.
I feel like when you say like, yeah, man, in the NBA, you just gotta give up something. You gotta live with it. I'm giving something up. I'm either forgetting to read something, or I'm forgetting to mute you, or I'm forgetting something. I gotta just pick what I'm willing to live with.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I just trust you some reason. I don't know why. We've known each other long enough.
No reason to.
I know. We've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah,
you were at my wedding, and I know you well enough to know that I shouldn't trust you. But there's some reason I do. I don't know.
I brought you whiskey for your wedding. You shouldn't trust me at all.
That's right. I drank that. That was So anyway, okay. What else? What did you learn? Is there any big thing where you look at that game and you go, hey, you know what? This is actually something that they can carry forward because they were forced to play through that whole 48 minutes.
Yeah, so this is a little bit less about that. One of the things that really jumped out to me is just Al Horford getting fewer minutes, right? Coming off the bench little bits here and there. When he then plays like as a starter and plays regular minutes, man, yeah. He's so good. And like,
Yeah.
we know that, right? Like we've seen it. We saw it with him coming off that OKC year when he was super fresh. Like, he's a little bit older and, yeah, his body might wear down throughout the year. The thing that I'm fascinated by is like, I want to see what happens now. To your point, like we've seen what happens when the Celtics need to string together a complete good game, right? When the playoffs roll around, they're going to be able to unleash Al Horford as long as they want to. Except this year's Al Horford isn't going to have taken all of that, like physical pounding that you take throughout the course of an NBA regular season. This dude's coming off the bench. Like this guy can rest any time that he needs to or wants to. And when Porzingis comes back, honestly, he could probably kind of do it now. And this team's so talented, they could get by with Luke Cornett starting a game or two. They're that good. And I think, and additionally, right, when you just see just the constant, churn of motion of like all-star or borderline all-star guys, just like, kind of moving around Al Horford all the time. And he just gets to operate out of that. I mean, like, it's a wonder they're not beating every team by 27. Like but he's so good, man. And I know it's like, I know it's kind of cliche to say, but it's been really fun to watch him just look a little bit rejuvenated. Like he can still do a lot of the stuff that he was doing before, especially on the defensive end. Like everybody's challenging him and he's just like, nope, like over and over and over again. So, I mean, it's not super specific to the Chicago game, but I'm so impressed by Horford. I'm so fascinated by what it means for this team that he's playing, like 6 minutes less per game. And, he's got all this freedom.
He's the constant, he's just the constant. No matter what you build around him, he's the constant. And like, it's kind of fun to see. He's 2 straight games where he sent a blocked shot into the front row, which is fun.
Didn't take out his own kid this time, but yeah.
No, just somebody else's. But he's, I think tying it to the Chicago game though, he is aware of the circumstances. I think he's the one guy who he can't push everybody to do what they need to do all the time. But if they're all doing what they need to do, Al Horford can be the absolute perfect hub throughout his entire time in the game. And it ties into the cutting and all of that. Because Horford found Jaylen twice and he found Tatum. So I know he found them each at least once. But if they're doing what they need to do, this is definitely a lesson from this game, because the cutting was better than it had been all season long, frankly. And most of the basketball that I've watched from them, if a player is making the right play and presenting himself when he's open, right, cutting, hands up, looking at Al Horford, that ball is going to be in his hands. Horford will make that play. Horford will make that pass. And he can run high post. He can run all of your handoffs, your pitch backs, all of that stuff. He can, if there's a switch, a mismatch, he still has that strength to back a guy down and that little kind of somewhat awkward half jump hook that he can make. He can do all of that stuff. So I just think that if the Celtics look at the film, Joe Mazzulla at practice or, at film session could be like, hey, look at Al Horford finding you. Look at Al Horford giving you – Al wants to do this stuff. Al wants to be the guy that makes all of you better. So stop standing around behind the three-point line and move. And you can move while getting back behind the three-point line, right? You can collapse, expand, and collapse and expand the defense until it cracks, and you can still find the three-point shot. Like Chicago gives up a ton of three-pointers, and they gave up a ton, and Boston made a ton in this one. They made 21 of 49. That's an amazing night from behind the line. The fact that they work the ball around and they get a lot of these open shots, Horford can be the hub of that. So I think that's definitely a great thing to take away from this game. We'll be back with another big thing to take away from this game in just a moment. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, muting Tom Westerholm. And new customers right now can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. So it's very simple. If you're new and you're thinking about joining FanDuel, go ahead and join. Sign up right now. FanDuel.com/lockedon. It's on the bottom of your screen here at YouTube. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Now, you place a $5 bet, moneyline bet, you win $100 in bonus bets on top of the money that you win. So whatever you want to do, spreads, player props, over-unders, you want to get into something more complicated, have fun with that, but you don't have to. You can just go have a little bit of fun, $5 here, $5 there, FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL, and the best part about FanDuel is they have the tools that you can go set up. So you know, hey, I have this is my financial limit. These are my limits. You set up the parameters, and then you can go and say, I know this is what I got this week. Once you're done, FanDuel's like, hey, by the way, you're done. So that's a real great way for you to go ahead, have fun on FanDuel, and please gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Would love to see you here at the or go to the Locked On NBA podcast. Locked On NBA, rotating hosts all week. I'll be back next Wednesday with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans because the Celtics play on Monday with their first knockout game there of the in-season tournament. So rotating hosts all week, Monday through Friday, Locked On NBA. Find it wherever you found this podcast. Find it on YouTube as well. All right. So I think, and I mentioned this yesterday a little bit, but we can get into, I think one thing that we can take away from this game, it's actually okay to play through and like play basketball for 48 minutes and not just, the Celtics need to play for 48 minutes. It's okay to, you don't have to like stop playing for 5 minutes because you've gone up for so long. Right. You can go on and still play basketball. Now, the Celtics would not have fouled Andre Drummond, right? They wouldn't have done that. So that's something that would be out. And maybe the starters would have been out. But that doesn't mean you don't keep playing. And if you win by 30, you win by 40, just like right. Go ahead and play basketball. Like this notion, and I think this is what hurts the Celtics. I'm all about respecting your opponents. All right. I'm 100% about respect your opponents and respect the game. I am 100% about that. Right? You're not.
I'm not. Talking trash.
But like, okay, yeah, talk your trash during the game. Part of that.
I'm joking. Yeah. But like, I'm with you actually. Yes.
So, but this notion that, we're up by 25. Let's ease up. We've done our jobs, guys. Let's just take it easy on them. And the other team's like, oh, here's our opportunity to like not make it 25. Like if the Celtics, and judging by the way they talk after the game or Jayson Tatum talked before the game, they're very upset. And I get it. Like I don't want to embarrass people, but also I think the Celtics have a bad sense of when games are over. And maybe what this thing taught us is the Celtics maybe need to recalibrate what they think is respectful and not respectful and when they think the game is over, because foot on the gas a little bit longer can avoid a lot of the problems that they've had.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because like you're watching that Celtics team, right? And like after the game, you hear the quotes. You hear Drew Holiday talking about like, man, I didn't like that. You hear Jaylen Brown talking about like, that was just disrespectful to the game. And it's like, it never looked disrespectful. Like the only thing that even looked out of place to me was the Andre Drummond hack a Drummond. And that, again, everybody knew there was a game within the game happening. Like,
yeah,
you knew what it was. You knew why the Bulls were trying so hard down the stretch. They wanted to play spoiler after they got embarrassed before that.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was very clear that Billy Donovan told them, hey, can we mess this up for these guys? And that the second unit was like, heard, chef, let's get them. And it's like, yeah, that's how this should be. Like that is how that should be. The Bulls should be trying to play spoiler, and the Celtics should be trying to destroy them for the sake. Like, there was a game within a game happening. We all knew it. We all saw it. You know, I mean, as much as, like, I thought Joe Mazzulla after the game was actually very funny talking to Gary Washburn when he was like, yeah, and if we got distracted and we you know, like, went down big because we were trying to get up to 23, I'd have to come out here and tell you, like, no, Gary, we weren't distracted when we absolutely were. Like, I thought that was pretty funny.
That was funny.
But, like, I don't know. I think there was a different vibe on the court just because it was a little bit different. And I think this 100% speaks to, in my mind, to what Mazzulla was saying after the game. I think there was a different vibe on the court than there was watching the game. Because watching the game, you're just like, yeah, Celtics are trying to go up by 23. Like, I get it. And they're trying to secure that 23-point lead. And when Mazzulla puts the second unit in after the starters did their jobs, the second unit was told, like, you guys want $500K? Go get it.
Yeah.
It's all you.
Right there, all you.
They're like, go get it, man. And like, I think that's fine. I think Mazzulla's right. Like, this, because one of the things he said after the game was like, this is just going to take a couple years for everybody to get used to. I hope the NBA doesn't change this. I hope that Jaylen and Drew Holiday don't get their way. Yeah, keep the point differential thing. It's kind of fun. It's a little bit different. Like, and everybody's going to get used to it. There was no disrespect of the game happening because it was a slightly different game last night, and that's okay. It's fun. It adds a little spice to the mix. Like, I don't know, let's get a little paprika in these vanilla November games.
So
I don't know why. I don't think paprika and vanilla would go very well together, but you know,
it would be paprika. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure, like, if you put it on Chopped and they were like, you gave people a mystery basket that included paprika, vanilla, and some other stuff, they could figure it out.
But Carmen from the Bear could figure it out for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think the point differential should be as high up on the tiebreaker scale. It had to be because it's 4 games. And I think I'm going to fix the tournament that we haven't even seen fully yet. My reaction is, look, next year you make it 8 games. So you have 2 games against each opponent. So you have, like, fewer opportunities for ties. So head to head becomes a little bit more powerful of a tiebreaker, I think. And then people have suggested, somebody in my email, is it Eric? Yeah. Said you could do quarters 1. So he says for each quarter you win, that's a point. For each half, that's 2. Any tied period splits the points between both teams. So you can, at the end, have, like, you still have the incentive to win each quarter.
Yeah.
But, you win the half, you go wire to wire, you get yourself what, 2, 4, 5, 6 points.
I do think that's, I mean, fans were kind of confused last night anyway. I feel like if you're trying to explain to a casual fan, like, point differential is like, hey, like, it matters how many points you score. Like, winning quarters, winning halves, at that point, I think you start to get a little, like, I feel like people might start to get a little confused.
I'm just saying, like, if players are so taken aback by the point differential thing, then there are other ways to do it. And I do think expanding the tournament is something that needs to happen anyway, because there are too many ties as it is. Like, it's not necessarily what the tiebreaker is. It's the fact that there are already baked into the system. There's already 3 or 4 of them in play because everybody's 3-1, 2-2. Like, there are only a couple of teams went 4-0. Yeah. So it's, you have 3 3-1 teams. Like, why not expand it out to 8 games? Just make December also group play, and then you just push the knockout stuff to January. And so that's
you could do that. I do think. I mean, I think one thing the NBA is trying to do, right? I think they want the knockout before Christmas, because I think a big part of this is beating the allegation that, like, the NBA season doesn't start until Christmas, right? So they want to have something that matters quite a bit before Christmas. I hear what you're saying, and like you are probably right. I don't know that I agree because I just love the chaos. Like I think when you look at and look, I mean I know, but I do think that like when you look at this tournament, it's great that there's a lot of the best teams are in the tournament, right? But I do think that like making this tournament not necessarily representative of the championship is an okay thing. Like, it's like, yeah, Minnesota has been one of the best teams in the NBA so far this season, and they're not moving on. I'm not so upset about that because I am somewhat of a chaos merchant. Yes. I'm not that worried about this on behalf of a team like the Timberwolves because I kind of like the chaos element. I like the idea that a team could go on a run, win the in-season tournament with like a couple of wins early on, and then, just kind of maybe buoy themselves a little bit going forward to the rest of the season. Kind of like we were talking about with Orlando the other day. I don't know. I kind of enjoy that. I kind of enjoyed last night. It felt like, okay, hunker down, look at all the scenarios. What's going on around the league? This is crazy. I'm watching 8 different scores at once. Like, I don't know. I thought that was a good time. I would like to do that
totally
again.
get it. For people who weren't watching, I put up a banner that said Tom_NBA Chaos Merchant. But getting back to finish off to put a bow on my initial point. However they do it is whatever they do. Like I think they do need to make some tweaks, and I think the players really want to make some tweaks to it. But also, I think they need to learn a lesson. The Celtics specifically need to take from this game this notion of like they really, really, really were worried about disrespecting Chicago. And sometimes maybe you worry too much about disrespecting somebody and you end up losing the game or blowing a lead, and you've disrespected yourselves because now you got to play more. You've disrespected honestly, this is actually a serious comment. You've disrespected your end of bench guys because this is their chance to play in the NBA and get their minutes. You've disrespected your coach because he needs those guys to play those end of game minutes in a blowout so they can get some reps and be ready and run some stuff against live competition. So you get some film, so you get some lessons. Like, you go out there and like, you just got to they keep talking about you got that dog in you. Well, you got to have that attack dog in you, and attack dogs don't let up until they're called off. And that's how you have to act. Let the coach determine when the team has been disrespected or what the line is. Right. Yeah. Just say, it's like, you just go. Joe will take care of the other stuff.
Yeah.
You just keep going and don't be like, oh, I feel like this is the line. No, there is no line. There is no line. Like, go, and it's up to them to stop you. Like, if they can't stop you, then so what? 40-point lead, 50-point lead. Like, just keep going until Joe says stop. And then when he says stop, the other guys, Sri and everybody else will come in and be like, now it's their turn to attack. And they won't do it as well, and maybe they'll lose the lead, but hey, that's their thing. So that's my other big takeaway.
I think that's reasonable.
And that's the end of the show. My last takeaway is, Tom, you're done.
You don't want to talk about Spotify Wrapped? You don't want to
Spotify Wrapped. Everybody keeps sending them to us.
They do.
I love it. I do like this time of year.
Honestly, Spotify Wrapped is like probably my third favorite holiday. It's so much fun, man. I love seeing what everybody else listens to. I like it's fun.
Behind what? Arbor Day and
Halloween and Christmas. Those are my two faves.
Okay.
I mean, Labor Day's high up there. It matters.
Sure.
It's like a big one, but yeah, Spotify Wrapped. I think
you guys here. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. People send us your stuff. Send it on Twitter.
Who's your number one? Who's your number one?
My number one
on Spotify
holiday?
Wrapped. Yeah, no,
my number one. I don't listen to my podcast on Spotify Wrapped. I don't on Spotify.
I was talking about music.
My number one. I you know what? I couldn't even tell you. I don't even. I didn't even.
You're not even honoring the holiday.
I'm not even honoring the holiday, but I can do this now as I open up Spotify. Is it going to tell me? John Karalis, your 2023
Yeah, you got to
Spotify
click through
rap.
it.
So there's some Bee Gees.
Okay.
Can people hear that? More than a woman. Okay, so that let's see. What does it tell me?
You got to kind of keep clicking through it a little bit.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Top songs. Jesus, tell me. Bruno Mars, 24 Karat Magic.
Okay.
Big Bruno Mars guy. I'm a
Okay.
big Bruno Mars guy.
I can see you being a Bruno Mars guy.
Black Thought, number 2.
Okay. Yep. That tracks.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. I had a big Red Hot Chili Peppers thing recently.
Interesting.
Yeah. You want to know what that's about? So, that's because I've gotten crazy into drumming videos.
Oh man, there's some good drummers out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer is heavy on Drumeo. So it's the Drumeo channel.
Yeah.
And like I love listening to cool people who are elite at what they do.
Yep.
And like so, and drumming is just cool. And I can I'm not even a drummer. I don't play the drums, but I listen to I listen to the videos and I'm like kind of following along. And so I start to pick up the lingo like, oh, he went with open hats on that one. So I start to pick up some of that stuff, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, so he was talking about how to, and I like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, to some degree. I have not paid any money to see California rock funk band Red Hot Chili Peppers live. So I'm still able to get into the good place, but, I do enjoy some of their music.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut for any Good Place fans.
That was good, man. That was a good one. That was a good one.
But yeah, that's where Red Hot Chili Peppers comes from. But yeah. I'll just randomly
for my second year in a row, my number one was the singer rapper St. John. He's I was in the top 0.05% of St. John listeners. If there are any St. John fans out there, this is not a cult. Wink, wink. St. John is awesome.
So Bruno Mars, Black Thought, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anderson .Paak gets lumped into Bruno Mars because they had Silk Sonic together, and then No Big Deal is the last artist.
Okay.
He just has one song that I had on repeat for like 2 months straight.
Gotcha.
So he got in there. So
the rest of mine were all heavy. So unless anybody's super into Knocked Loose, they're not going to be super into the rest of mine. But yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, we've sufficiently no one's listening at this point.
Yeah,
so this is the type of stuff that happens after we sign off. So we just skipped right to that part.
We did. We
normally talk for like.
I just wanted to bring up my favorite holiday. I felt like I didn't want to let Spotify Wrapped Day go unnoticed.
Yeah. So all right, boy, I've got to wrap this show up. So it's Locked On Celtics Wrapped. I already muted Tom. Whatever you just said, no one heard it. So I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for listening. God, if you're still here, then I know you're a hardcore fan. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I would love it if you shared the podcast, spread the word, tell your friends, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.